Zimbabwe, welcome to Livetalk. We are coming to you live from Studio 7 at the Voice of America in Washington. I am your host, Gibbs Dube. Today we are talking about problems faced by Zimbabweans living in the diaspora. Meanwhile, Senegalese President-elect Bassirou Diomaye Faye is vowing to fight corruption, rebuild institutions, and unite the country as he prepares to assume office. His victory in last week's elections follows a political crisis sparked by outgoing President Macky Sall's failed attempt to postpone the vote. VOA Nairobi Bureau Chief Mariana Diallo is in Dakar and has this report.
In his first public address, Senegalese President-elect Bassirou Diomaye Faye thanked his supporters and pledged to bring solutions to some of the problems he says his country is facing.
I will govern with humility and with transparency. I will work to get rid of corruption in all sectors and will work toward rebuilding our institutions.
Faye says it's time to bring calm to the country after outgoing President Macky Sall tried to postpone the February elections until December, plunging the country into a brief political crisis.
National reconciliation and rebuilding our fundamental ways of living together. The pre-electoral crisis we lived through cost some people their lives and many were jailed. We hope to turn the page and reconcile people's hearts and the Senegalese people.
Sunday's official election results have not yet been published, but Faye's supporters say they are satisfied with what they have seen so far.
We were hoping to win with over 70% in the first round, but it seems like we are at 57%. It's only preliminary numbers, but we hope that number will be even higher.
We lived through moments that almost pushed Senegal into chaos, but thank God everything is back in place now. We had a transparent presidential election. Candidate Diomaye Faye was elected with a comfortable margin. What we must do now is reconcile the Senegalese people, as Diomaye said in his speech, and transform the country's economy.
Earlier at the ruling party's coalition headquarters, Amadou Ba, the coalition lead candidate who lost the election to Faye, told reporters about a conversation he had with the president-elect.
He told us that he congratulated him, he is happy for his victory, and he wishes him well.
I wish him success, and may God accompany him as he carries out his various missions and goals for our glorious nation and for the well-being of our population.
As Ba's supporters try to digest their candidate's loss in the first round that saw 17 candidates vying for the top job, tensions of the last few months seem to be fading away and being replaced by the hope that Senegal's reputation as a beacon of democracy in the region will soon be restored. Mariama Diallo, VOA News, Dakar, Senegal.
Thanks very much, Mariama, there in Senegal. And then in Zimbabwe, UNICEF Zimbabwe Communications Chief, Ves Willemot, says climate change is impacting negatively on the lives of children worldwide and has resulted in serious food and water shortages. Speaking to Studio 7 today after officially launching a climate change awareness campaign in Harare, Willemot said children also become vulnerable to sickness due to climate change.
So UNICEF today is launching a communication campaign around climate, a campaign that aims to create awareness around the impact of climate change on children. We are all aware of the climate change hazards that we are facing worldwide, including in Zimbabwe. What we might be a little bit underestimating is the impact of climate change hazards on children. So the whole campaign that we are launching today as UNICEF, and that will lead us till the end of June, and which has a title, Invest in Climate, Invest in Children, is a campaign that aims to create more awareness among people about the impact of climate change on children, It's about making sure that children are actually empowered to be active actors of change with regard to the climate change challenges that we're going through. But also it's a campaign that will help us to support the appeal for climate investment to be more child-centered. Because as much as there is money now invested in the climate change challenges, which is still not enough worldwide, what is invested in these budgets related to climate on children is still insufficient. So it's a call also for UNICEF to prioritize children in the climate policies and climate strategies, climate responses, and it's also a call to ensure that there's more budget for climate invested specifically with regard to children.
That was UNICEF Zimbabwe Communications Chief, Ves Wellemot, speaking with VOA Studio 7 in Harare. Still in Zimbabwe, the local currency is in free fall, with indications that it is selling at $40,000 per United States dollar in the black market and $21,000 in the official market. Despite this setback, Finance Minister Mthuli Ncube says the country won't dump it like what happened in 2009 when the economy experienced serious hyperinflationary levels. Now, please stay tuned. We are coming back here. We're just taking a very brief break.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
For those that have just joined our show, please note that we are streaming this discussion live on our Facebook pages, VOA Shona, VOA Studio 7, and VOA Ndebele. We're also live on YouTube, VOA Zimbabwe. As mentioned earlier on, tonight we are talking about challenges faced by Zimbabweans living outside the country. And our in-house guest today is Brooks Bomba, Programs Director of Trust Africa, a Pan-African foundation based in Senegal that tackles pressing challenges on the continent. We're also joined in Johannesburg by Ms. Victress Matutu of Zim Imbokoto and Mr. Bongani Mkwananzi, spokesperson of Zimbabwe community in South Africa. First, let's start with you, Ms. Matutu. We welcome you to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Dube. Good evening to you and to the listeners.
Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us today. Now, to illegal, or let me say to legal Zimbabwean immigrants access healthcare in South Africa, those people that are there with documents, do you get some free healthcare or you pay something? What happens?
There is nothing called free health care here in South Africa. I don't know for the locals, but for foreign nationals, regardless of you having a permit or anything that allows you to be staying in South Africa legally, when you go to a health facility, you will have to pay. Even if you are legal or illegal, there is no difference. That's according to my knowledge. You have to pay regardless of your status here when it comes to being legal or illegal here in South Africa.
And we've heard so many stories, very sad stories about illegal immigrants who end up dying due to lack of access to medical care as a result of their status, What's really happening? Recently, there's a guy in Ngwenya, a guy who actually failed to get good medical care in a Johannesburg hospital. And he was literally rotting. That, I mean, people are talking about horrific scenes, things that they saw, around him were so bad. You couldn't even imagine a human being going through that kind of pain. So tell us a bit about such things. Are they common?
Mr. J, what I can tell you is that what happened to the guy from the Ngwenya family is something that has been happening. That was lucky because that got to the news, people, and you guys got to know about it. There is a lot that goes on that you don't get to know about. I can assure you that we have had similar circumstances, even though the media did not get those news. But it has been happening. He's not the first guy to lose his life because he was denied access to health facilities. He's not the first guy. People, like I can say, let me speak for foreigners. Foreigners are dying here in South Africa. They can't access any help from the health facilities if they don't have money to pay. There are a lot of people who have been denied access to get to hospitals or clinics because they don't have money. They don't have money to pay for the access. So it's very lucky that this got to the media, and the media just publicized it so that the world must know what's happening. But I can assure you, he is not the first person to die because of that. A lot of people have died. We just don't know how people get to die because we don't follow those people in hospitals. What happens to them? Some people are dying in their homes, not in hospitals, because they couldn't go to hospitals due to lack of funds to access health facilities there. So the truth is, foreigners are dying here in South Africa because they can't. They don't have funds to pay for their health in clinics or hospitals. So this is something that is happening, that has been happening. And I think it's going to continue happening because I don't think there is a time where it's going to be said that they mustn't pay at hospitals. They don't pay if we are working or not working. If we have to pay, we have to pay. I think people who access help, who get help from hospitals, they do pay. I also go to a hospital, I go to a government hospital. By the reception, there is an amount that I have to pay. And even if you are not going there because you are sick or you are just fetching your medication, there is nothing for free. You get there, you must pay for you to get your medication. Some people are getting chronic medication that you cannot go without. So if you don't have that money to go there and get your medication for a chronic disease, then you can't get the medication. So if it's a chronic disease, then we are in trouble because chronic disease, the medication is taken like on a daily basis.
Yes,
so
this
is happening. It has been happening. It's going to continue happening.
Okay, thank you so much and stay on the line. Baba Mkhwananzi, sawamukela kuhlelo ba.
Yes, siyabonga babudube, sibonge nakubalalela.
Yes, siyazwa lapha ke abantu badonsa nzima kwele South Africa. Kuyinokugcina kusenza ukuthi izinto ezinje zehlela abantu abanjengabangwenya. Kuyase kutheni bantu?
Ngokomthetho vele umuntu mayesiya esibhedlela noma enawo amaphepha kukhona nje okungama small administration fees okubhadalwayo. Kucase ekangwenya into esesi uncovile lapha ukuthi kube le negligence impela enkulu. Ideally vele wonke umuntu oba ne-emergency izibhedlela ziyamtreata without demanding imali upfront. So ungwenya uthe setholakale elimele wahanjiswa esibhedlela eJohannesburg bafika bamtreata bamoperate wasekhitshwa futhi waba wasuswa laphana ngoba bengasaqhubeki in terms of i-recovery process bamusa kwesinye isibhedlela leyiPholosongo. Yilapho ke okwafika kwaba le negligence khona ngoba ngelanga bekumele ifamily ibikhokha 1,400 rand. Bayenelisa ukukhokha ilanga elilodwa. Okunye kwaba luhlupho ukuthi maye transfer kulesana isibhedlela ifamily yazama ukuthi ithola ukuthi usehanjiswe kusiphi isibhedlela kukhanya kwangathi yinto yabathatha insukwana ukuthi baze bamthola ukuthi ukusiphi isibhedlela bese yamfica lapha bethola ukuthi lo muntu ka-attendwa ngoba ngale bathi ngosuku kumele akhokhe 1,400 esesingathi siyakuverifya yikuthi akuqondananga naye kuphela kukhanya lesana isibhedlela sona singathi vele kule negligence enkulu laba babevakatsha esibhedlela bathi bebona mpela imikhuba mpela eminingi eyenziwa lawa amanye ama-patients so sesikuthola mpela ukuthi la kube i-case of negligence ne-particular facility leyo kutsho ukuthi ayiziphathi kahle izigulane.
Kulobuzima lapha Nkosazana Matutu uyazwela lapha sibele udaba lolu luyasinda okunye okumangalisayo pho nxa sokunje ligcina lisenzani ngoba Nkosazana Matutu umuntu sebhubhile sake sabona lomunye umama laye wathwele nzima esithi uzama esibhedlela elesifo semvukuzane bayala ukuthi bemelaphe ngoba ayidinga kuphela ukuthi abe le mali encane kakhulu imali engaba ngama-200 and something rand kumbe less so nxa umuntu engala mali vele kayelatshwa ayekela nje antule leganga kumbe afe esibhedlela atshone sibile esibhedlela ahambe kunjalo Nkosazana
kuyenzeka vele babaduwe ma imali ingekho ikakhulu mase sibheka la njengoba ubaba uMkhwananzi ekhuluma ngokuthi ungwenya bekufunakala izimali ezithile ngelanga esibhedlela singathola ukuthi umuntu esibhedlela babuthathe uyagula uadmithe ulalishe esibhedlela kodwa bese kuthiwa umbheda lo olele kiwo kumele ukuthi ubhadale ngelanga vele umbheda ubhadala ngokulala so ma kufika isikhathi sokuthi umuntu lo olalisiwe kulowo mbheda leyo mali efunekayo ukuthi abhadale leyo mbheda kayikho yikho lapho esifika khona kuma-situation ukuthi umuntu uzagcina esedisaka phela esibhedlela ngoba akakwazi ukubhadalela umbheda lo walala kuwo so uzakhutshwa esibhedlela aye endlini ma umuntu esendlini evele engezwa kahle egula engasatholi i-medication engasekho lapho esibhedlela okufanele ukuthi ekuqineni sigcina sibona sokufika esimeni sokuthi umuntu agcine lahlekelwa impilo yakhe kulokho kusegcekeni nje ukuthi umuntu ma evele engezwa kahle isibhedlela sithi imkhafulile ngoba kala mali yokuthi abhadalela umbheda usehlezi endlini ezizokwenza njani so lokho simgcika umuntu ngakhola lokho amaphilisi aqeda inhlungu ukuthi angabe sebuhlungwini kodwa akungeke silaphe lokho kuyikho kumele kulaphwe isibhedlela thina endlini simgcinile umuntu kodwa okukhona manje ukuthi njengoba sibona ukuthi isimo sinjalo kumele ukuthi mhlawumbe kube lezi ndlela esingasizana ngazo ukuthi nxa sesithe omunye saba lo muntu omunye wethu osesibhedlela ngesimo esinjalo okungelawo izimali zokuthi abhadale lokho kumele kubhadale ayikho enye indlela ngaphandle kuphume phandle ucela usizo futhi ebantwini ukuthi hayi bantu nangu uMkhwananzi uselalisiwe esibhedlela lapha kufuneka kungaka abantu basi ayikho enye indlela esingayenza ngakhona ngoba nxa kuthiwa imali iyafuneka ngoba siyabona ukuthi nxa imali ingekho abantu bayakhutshwa ezibhedlela ukuthi imali yokubhadala lokho ayikho so bayakhutshwa ezibhedlela so ukuthi bahlale ezibhedlela ukuthi kufunakala leyo mali abantu babhadalele leyo mali asazi ukuthi ngiyenzeka kanjani lokho kodwa into kumele iyenzeke ngoba nxa senzanga njalo sahlala sikhala abantu sebeshonele ezindlini bekhafulwe izibhedlela
singathi sibili kulobuzima obunye obumangalisayo kodwa silethemba lokuthi abantu bazaphepha noma engazani badibane lento zonke lezi hayi silethemba lokuthi kuzalunga singazi ukuthi-ke ubaba uMbongani Mkhwananzi usephendulekile kumbe hatshi bengani ifoni yakhe iquntekile siyakwazi ukuthi labo lolu South Africa lento ezinjalo uMkhwananzi nyamuzwa ingani sekhona so Mr. Mkhwananzi, for Zimbabweans and other foreigners this is a very serious challenge. How do you handle a situation where somebody doesn't have money and that person needs a lot of help, and in some cases when somebody passes away, you've got people like, this organization, Kings and Queens, funeral services that end up helping in one way or the other. So what about if you are still in hospital? Is there any way that you can help each other? Or in most cases, it's just each person for himself and God for you all?
Currently, we don't have any mechanism, and we have been in talks with different people and entities. We are in talks with Dr. Mapisa. We are in talks with the medical aid scheme. We've been trying to reach out also to medical practitioners to say we need to establish migrant-friendly clinics where at least there's an understanding that there's a plight, there's a crisis in Zimbabwe that is forcing all these people to start to be here seeking jobs and seeking a better place to stay. So currently it's good for us all, really. We really have a problem, and we really need the community to think together, to pool resources together, and medical practitioners to offer facilities at least that can assist people. I think also the health system in South Africa is being legitimate that it is overwhelmed. Because remember, they would have a budget that caters for a certain population, but then there will be extra people who are illegal, whom will not be accounted for within that budget. So now we find that while we would obviously feel the pain of having our relatives pass away, they also legitimately feel that the system is really being overwhelmed. So now organizations such as King and Queens, and we would like really to express our profuse gratitude. Mr. Ndebele, the director there, called us, and we have met him, and they are going to do all services, keeping the body at the mortuary. They will give out a quantum to take Sfela Ngwenya to Jombe. They will also, but they will not cater for border fees, so the family still needs to find money for the border fees, which is 2,300 rand. So when we have such people in society, it makes life easier. You can imagine that Soneni Ngwenya was still looking for 7,000 rand to safely transport her brother home. And now funeral costs are around, there were going to be 29,000 to take Sfela Ngwenya to Jombe. They would really have not managed. It's a family that is struggling itself. So we really are very, very grateful for King and Queen's gesture. This is a very good thing. And we call upon all other organizations such as this to always be on the lookout for such cases, because we really have people who are struggling and who fall under such bad circumstances. But honestly, it's really good for us all. While the Zimbabwe community in South Africa takes on issues and takes on cases, it's not a funded organization. We don't have money. We do this out of our own time, out of our own attempts, and connections to say, if the other organization that I really should thank is Voice of America and yourself for taking on the story, because Mr. Ndebele says he heard this on the news, so he heard it on Voice of America, meaning this is good work that you are doing. If organizations like ours use these connections, it does help people, but because we are not funded, some of these cases become difficult. We know for a fact that pregnant people at hospitals, they must pay. It's a must. It's a 5,200 something fee that they must. You can then imagine that this presents a lot of difficulties for migrant pregnant people, even if they have permits. So we really place our hope in God.
Siyawuzwa kakhulu ke ubaba Mkhwanazi, uyakhuluma lapha ke Nkosazana Matutu, uyamuzwa ukuthi lapha vele siphila ngosomandla. So ke izimimbokodo ke yenzelana abantu nxa sokunje. Lingixolele, excuse me.
Angizange babuthi.
Ngithi ke nxa sokunje songani selibhekane lengxaki enje, izimimbokodo yenzelana abantu liphatha njani indaba ezinje ezokuthi umuntu uvele wehluleka lokuthi ayelatshwe esibhedlela kala mali izihamba zibhobokile kulobuzima, lijala ukwenzani, lijala ukuphatha njani njengezimimbokodo khonokho?
Thina njengenhlangano babuduke ekhangele kakhulu omama nabantwana, ma kufika ezimeni zokuthi umuntu ongumama kumbe umntwana obhekane nesimo esinjalo, isikhathi esiningi kufunakala izimali njengoba sikhuluma ngezimali kufunakala ama-funds izimimbokodo is an NPO engakala ma-funders at the moment angithi so lokho silakho uma senelisa ukusiza siyangenelela sisize njalo lokho singenelisi khona siyazama ukuthi sinikeze usizo lokuthi nxa lokho singakwenelisiyo njengama-funds angatholakala kanjani njengokuthi siyaphuma siye ebantwini siyecelela lowo ngabe esedinga usizo ngaleso sikhathi simcelele usizo ebantwini mathi nakuyikuthi mhlawumbe lungaphezu kwamandla kodwa ma kuyilutho esilenelisayo hayi njengenhlangano siyasiza omama siyasiza abantwana akungakhathalekile ukuthi umuntu lile ngale nhlangano noma cha siza kakhulu abantu abangasemalungu enhlangano kakhulu njalo baba uDube ngingathanda futhi ukubonga kakhulu inhlangano zonke ezinjengabo Kings and Queens ngizwa baba umkhona ngithi ziyangenelela zisiza endaweni ezinjalo bese ngizama ukuthi ngingakhuthaza ukuthi abantu angazi noma ngingabe ngiseceleni ukufaka udaliwe ngokaNkulunkulu anithi kodwa kukhona ezinye indlela okuvika ngazo njengokuthi ngasikhathi umuntu kumuse esibhedlela sizama ukuthi sivike khonokho ukufa ukuthi kungenzakali so abantu uyazi ukuthi silama-burial society singabantu lapha eSouth Africa abantu kakhulu ngakhuluma eSouth Africa ukuthi abantu balamadrasa ngenyanga kuyachaya izimali kumbe kuchaya 100 rand kumbe kuchaya ama-70 ngama-100 rand ama-200 rand silungiselele ukuthi maybe imizimba yethu mase sishonile ithwala 100 ekhaya singakwenza futhi ukuthi kube le ndlela zokuthi kunokuthi sichaya ama-100 rand okulungisela imizimba yethu ekhaya kube ama-100 rand mhlawumbe achaya kube into ye-medical aid angazi noma ukuthi nje kube njenge-medical aid babu siba khona ogulayo kube kwazi ukuthi lilela ama-100 rand ezimfanya wabona lala ama-100 rand naye ngaba khona ukuthi kube ngawe-medical aid nje azabhekelela lezimpilo zabantu ezimele ezinje ezokuthi abantu abalazimali zokuya esibhedlela kube ngento efana nje kungasiza kakhulu siyisize ngoba ekugcineni siyabona ukuthi sizalahlekelwa ngabantu kakhulu silokhu sirepatriate imizimba isiye ekhaya kanti kule ndlela ukuthi ngasiza ukuthi imiphefumulo yabantu ingalahleki
hayi siyakuzwa kakhulu-ke baba Mkhwananzi. So how effective are these burial societies in terms of tackling some of these problems? Just briefly.
Well, what Ngevele told us, he says they do always assist, and they have. I still remember they assisted the Boksburg gas people that the gas incident. They helped the miners at Crown Mines who had the shaft collapse on them. So they do assist, and we really appreciate what they do.
Yeah. So, but in return, what do they get, because at the end of the day, they are a company and they are operating there. Is it that they are plowing back to the community where the kind of services that people need, because they are supported by the community? I was talking to Roy Ngube, the chairperson of Kings and Queens, and we were saying really the community has supported them a lot. So are they plowing back, and are you happy with that?
Yes, it's a plowback, I guess, initiative. The community, through joining King and Queens, has made the company to be what it is. But it is also from their benevolence, really, to think out for the community. Say, look, you are assisting our business to grow. We will assist extreme cases. So it is a very good thing.
Hayi siyabezwa lapha ke baba Mkhwananzi lo mama ke uMathuthu bayakhuluma sibili ngokwehlela abantu kwele Zimbabwe kukhanya kunengi njalo kupheli nxa sikhangela ukuthi kwenzakalani isikhathi eside kuyakhanya abanye bagcina betshona besesibhedlela besenzizwa khona ukuthi kwayongelanto phela ukuthi ngabanceda abanye phela akabala mali abanye njalo abala maphepha okuhlala kulelo lizwe. So there are many problems that Zimbabweans are facing outside the country. So today we just touched one aspect of those kind of issues, and we're talking about healthcare in South Africa. We are out of time, unfortunately, and we have to leave it here. Thank you so much. Signing off from Washington, this is Gibbs Tobe. Good night.